Greetings, homeschoolers. This is Marty with Excellence in Education with another one of our videos that are all about how to make your homeschool that much better. And today we're going to have the benefit of teaching you all about learning styles. And you say, why do I care about learning styles? Very simple. Because your learning style, believe it or not, will dictate very strongly how you teach. Now, what happens if you have a child that learns differently from you and you don't understand this difference? Guess what? Conflict. What happens with conflict? Separation. We don't want that. We want harmonious environment at home, a place where the child and you are comfortable together, and therefore your teaching and they're listening to you and learning becomes far more successful. So we're going to be talking about learning styles. The foundation of my presentation on this and the 6 following videos will be based on the information from Discover Your Child's Learning Style, a book written by my friends Mariemma Willis and Victoria Kendall Hodson. These are both researchers, and we have gone through their seminars, and we are actually certified learning style coaches, both my wife and I. So we've been doing this for about 10 years now, and we have found it to be highly successful for our families who have used the information in this book. So let's get started. The big question I have for you is, if I were to ask you, Mr. and Mrs. Parent, how do you like to learn? What is your learning style? You're going to tell me, oh, I'm visual, or I'm auditory, or I'm tactile kinesthetic. Well, 98% of you will say that. And that's okay. But guess what? Learning styles actually go far deeper than that. And there's a lot more things to know about learning styles to totally understand. And I have a phenomenal holistic understanding about how people learn. Therefore, you, the parent, can become a far more effective teacher to your student, and the long-term result will be, guess what? The children will learn to love how to learn. And we get back to my idea that is ideal, and that is a harmonious homeschool environment instead of one based on conflict. Now, here's the fun part. We're going to get into 5 different areas. The first area we do get into is modalities, but you know what? There's far more involved than just knowing if you're visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. Because let's take the visual. You can be either a visual picture or a visual print. Now, myself, I tend to be a visual picture. That's why I love going to Denny's or any other restaurant that has pictures on the menu. And I'll tell the waiter or the waitress, I'll say, I want to eat that tonight, and I'll point to a picture. My wife, she can read the whole entire menu and dissect it out, and boom, she'll do it that way. So again, we have visual print, those who love to, guess what? Read the directions, read the instructions, read the book, the magazines. And then you have the visual picture. These are the ones who like videos, they like books with illustrations, they love to watch movies, and if you're not careful, you become more easily addicted to that little thing called television. Now, let's get into the auditory component of modalities. You know what's going to happen there? You guess it. We're going to have 2 different parts. We're going to have auditory listening and auditory verbal. And what happens there is that the auditory listening person loves to listen to lectures. They love to hear CDs or tapes. In fact, if they are a visual picture and an auditory listening component, guess what? they have a propensity to be easily addicted to television and to computer screens. So while it's a benefit and a learning tool, you need to be careful that it doesn't control you, that you always control it. Then we get into the kinesthetic tactile person. And in that arena, we have probably about 12 different subcategories that we'll be discussing on a future video when we discuss nothing but the modalities, okay? Now, here, let's go to dispositions. What's a disposition? Basically, it's a learning personality of the person. And there we have 5 different types of dispositions. And you ask, why is that important? Well, really, the most important thing to understand about learning styles is dispositions. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're a parent and you are a very organized check-off person. Boom, 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 boom. And being on time is really important. And let's say you have a child who's very artistic and they have a tendency to do 2 things. One, they will daydream. Uh-oh. Do you know what that means in a schoolroom? That means your attention deficit. At least that's what they think. And then they're going to medicate that child. And they're going to flatline them. And then you've lost your kid. And then, so anyway, with that artistic child, they also get late many times because they do not understand, guess what? Time. 20 seconds, 20 minutes, 20 hours. There's no difference. So let's say you ask your artistic son, you being the producing, organized person, to be at dinner in half an hour, and they're 10 minutes late. Your immediate parental reaction is, that was an act of defiance. Therefore, we will have to have punishment, conflict, separation. Now that you understand, he doesn't understand time, we can suggest to you, you can say, Junior, dinner's in 30 minutes. Here's a timer. I'm going to set it for 25 minutes so you know that you have 5 minutes to get to the dinner table. Now, instead of having conflict, we have harmony, understanding, and a peaceful environment. Then, so that's the reason why dispositions are extremely important. Now, let's talk about the 5 different dispositions real quick. One, we have that producer, which is a person who is highly organized. Check off time. In fact, a true producer needs to know what they're going to do the next day in order to have a nice, healthy night of sleep. And if they don't know, their mind's going wacko, thinking, oh, what have I got to do? What do I got to do? What do I got to do? But now we know if you're a producer or your child is, the best thing you can do is give them a schedule, give them expectations, and they always love to finish things. So for like a producer child, workbooks are great. For Think Create, workbooks are a disaster. Okay, let's get to the next one. It's called Perform. These are the kids who have to move all the time. You know, like this, you get that young boy at home, he's standing doing this, and if he's a perform kind of person, he loves games, he loves sports, but he also loves movement. And if you're a tranquil person who likes to sit quietly, this person will be someone you don't understand. But if you understand now why your boy acts that way, then we have tranquility, not conflict. The next area that we get into is invent. Now, invent is that person who likes to discover things. They like to explore. They too can get very involved in their projects and get lost in time. They will become so consumed that everything else may not have much importance to them. Then we have what we call the Think Create person. Wow, this is that artistic child I was talking about earlier. These are the kids who will definitely daydream. And in a classroom environment, they will be considered attention deficit. They get lost in time. Again, attention deficit. The protocol is to pharmaceutically attack that attention deficit handicap that they call it. and therefore we flatten the child inside. Now we have a child without any motivation, without any purpose. So why don't we just understand this is a normal dispositional behavior and we need to work with it, and we can. And we're going to teach you how to do all these things because it's so important for your success and your kids' success. Then we have the relate, inspire disposition. Wow, these are the people who love kumbaya. They love peace. They love tranquility. If you have, let's say you have 3 kids, and you have a relate, inspire child, if the 2 other siblings are having a battle, they will want to get involved to calm the whole situation, to bring peace. And one of the downfalls of relate, inspire is that sometimes they want that peace so bad, they will violate their own comfort zone and they'll violate their own principles to achieve said peace. Now, the interesting thing about dispositions, everybody has some of every one of those 5 I have mentioned. It's just that some will be very dominant and others will be more recessive. Now, my daughter, she is not only high in produce, the organizational side, but she's also very artistic. So she has this conflict going back and forth, because they're different dispositional behaviors. But she has managed to utilize both those dispositions to a very high efficiency rate, where her job requires that kind of stuff. She's very good at it. And her house is beautiful because of that, and she's still very organized. It is a wonderful understanding to see how you can play the various dispositional behaviors so you can benefit greatly from life. Now, let's get into talents. Wow, what's talent? Those are items that come very easy to you. Some people have a talent in, let's say, singing. Some people have a talent in organizational skills. They may have a talent in sports. Whatever comes easy to them. Now that, compared to interest, is where it gets really exciting, because an interest is so often overlooked and we don't pay attention to it. And part of the reason for that, here's a sidebar for you. Your kids are so highly programmed from the minute they wake up to the minute they go to bed. You got them programmed all the way through. They don't have time to participate in their interests. So be very careful, and really, if you want to bring out the child's interest, provide your child with at least an hour a day of unstructured play. Not structured play, but unstructured play. There's only one rule: no blue screens. That means no TVs, no computers, no videos, nothing of that nature. They have to get and become active in some activity that they will find to be exciting and fun. Now, at first they may say, "Mom, I'm bored," and your response should be, "That's okay, because you haven't discovered how to be on board." Boredom is nothing less than a lack of mental stimulation, and if they are given a chance, they will find and tap into their talents, tap into maybe their interests, and become quite creative and handle that unstructured time very well. It is very important, unstructured time, to allow them to become creative and to allow them to make decisions for themselves. And that's a very important part on their journey toward independence. Now, we also, with interests, these are the things you really want to cultivate. Now, does talent always result in interest? And does interest always result in talent? No. I have 2 daughters. One daughter had an immense talent in music, but had no interest. She could have been a professional entertainer, no problem, but she chose not to, for whatever reason, to make her talent something she was interested in. I have another daughter who, her music abilities struggle just like mine, but she was so interested that she overcame the lack of talent And now she can make over $100 an hour playing harp for different occasions. So we can see that there's a difference between interests and talents, but it's also important to understand how they work together. And if you can get someone that has an interest and a talent and they're compatible, and guess what? Now we have passion. And if we have a child with passion that can be converted to purpose, woo, we have now a happier child, a happier home environment, and everything is going to be a lot better than an environment of conflict. Now, the last thing we're going to get into as far as the 5 areas of learning styles is the environment. And this is where we explore. Do you like to get up with energy in the AM or the PM? Do you like to be in an area of bright lights, subtle lights? How about, do you want the window open or closed? Do you want to do you get cold easily, hot easily? When do you like to eat? All these different things we get into that help us, help you understand yourself better and your child. Now here's a special bonus for you parents. Everybody's different. And there's times when you look at your spouse and you go, why does he or she do that? You know what's going to happen? You're going to discover in knowing how you behave in certain areas, especially dispositionally speaking. And now you're going to see how your spouse operates with understanding. And with understanding, there's less frustration. And then there's more communication. And everything gets better if you allow yourself to work it out and discover how can we make these different dispositional behaviors and different learning styles be compatible. And for instance, knowing about learning styles, let's say we have that child who's either perform or think create, and they get lost in time. We know over time we need to help them understand that being timely is very important. Otherwise, guess what? You get fired from your job. And so we have time to gently move them over a little bit. If you're all excited about being the organized person, you need to move over a little bit so you're more tolerant of the natural dispositional behavior of your child or your spouse for that fact. So I hope that this short little video has given you a wonderful insight as to the importance of truly understanding learning styles and how it can make your homeschool community, your homeschool family far more harmonious instead of being full of conflict. And at the end of the day, when your child is 18, ready to move on, 1, they have confidence, 2, they love to know how to learn, and 3, the 2 of you are like this. You're real close. And believe us, our kids are young adults, and we love our kids, and we're together a lot, and it is exciting to see how we have such a harmonious relationship. And it's contagious because the whole entire family, including their spouses and their spouses' parents, it's all fantastic because we understood how our kids learn, allowing them to find their passions and for them to be where they're at in life and be very happy doing that. So I'm looking forward to seeing you again. I have at least 5 more videos, maybe 6, going through all these different things on learning styles. I want to keep them short, less than 20, 30 minutes, and then you will become now far more familiar, and your success will be greatly enjoyed by not only you, but your spouse and your children. So thank you for listening. And again, excellenceineducation.com. You can find stuff there about us, and we're here to help you. So thank you very much. Looking forward to the next video. Bye now.